Sweet. Okay. So, David Mason Mallet. Thank you all. Okay. The regular meeting of the Ojai Historic Preservation Commission is called to order. Today, Thursday, June 13th, 2024, 6 o'clock p.m., in person and via teleconference. We know that because we heard the Zoom voice earlier. Sherry, could you do roll call, please?
Chair Akins?
Here.
Vice Chair McHatton?
Here.
Commissioner Walker?
Here.
Commissioner Basasha and Sims absent, and 2 vacancies.
Great. Thank you very much. If we could do the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'd stand and follow me. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Thank you all. Public communications. Public communications is a time set aside during the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for members of the public to address the Historic Preservation Commission on items of city business other than scheduled agenda items. Matters raised at this time may be briefly discussed by the commission and will generally be referred to staff and or placed on a subsequent agenda. Under state law, other than for emergency items, no action can be taken at this meeting. Thank you. But we're not doing public comments. Do we ask for comments at this time? Nope.
Any public communication for anything that's not on the agenda?
Okay. I don't have a card.
No, we don't have any blue cards, so Sherry?
Sherry, do you have anyone online?
No.
Okay, we will move along then. Okay. Museum report. I have a report from Wendy Barker, the Ojai Valley Museum Executive Director. And she says, Ojai Valley Museum Annual Meeting. It's a free event open to anyone. It is coming up Wednesday, June 19th from 7 to 8 p.m. Tony Thatcher, here's the draw. Tony Thatcher will share a tale of 2 families, the Friends, which is the last name, his wife's maiden name, and the Thatchers. It will be outside on our back patio, barring it being 105 at that time. And then also we currently have an exhibit that's going on. It will, does agriculture have a future in the Ojai Valley? That exhibit continues. We have town talks that are going on. Town Talk 2 of 3 in conjunction with the exhibit is Sunday, June 23rd from 4:30 to 6 p.m. A panel of local experts will discuss 2 major issues. Go figure, pests and water. Oh yeah. Town Talk number 3 will be Sunday, July 14th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. A different panel will discuss labor and Ojai's position in the world agricultural market. That will be interesting. Find out, maybe they'll go and do history too and find out why we have 100-year-old olive trees. Three different orchards that I know of in the valley. We may have been the olive king at one time. You never know. So anyway, thank you for that. We will now move on to consent items. Minutes for May 23rd, 2024, special meeting. Are there any adjustments?
I did not see any.
Craig?
I move that we approve.
Well, actually, I did see one. So if you go to planning report, I didn't know we had abbreviated our principal planner's last name, just to call her Mac. I was like, what's Mac?
Where are you?
Planning report. Page 3 of 3,
Oh, Planner Mac.
Planner Mac.
I kind of like that. It is my nickname, so.
It's probably your nickname throughout the city hall, and that's why they just ended up doing that.
Since college, it's been with me.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So anyway, we can change that, or we can just leave it Planner Mac.
Turn on your microphone, Maura.
All right, well, I kind of like the nickname Sherry, but we
Turn
can
on your
always-
microphone, Mac.
Oh. Okay, noted. Thank you, Chair.
Okay,
Akins.
so just an observation. If anyone wants to make a motion to approve the minutes as stated, please do so.
So move.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second it.
Whoa. Sherry, roll call, please.
McCatton,
Yes.
Akins.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Yes.
So I am now
Mac.
Planner Mac.
At least for these minutes. Okay. We're not going straight to, okay, where we are. Okay, that was last week. So thank you. We will now move on to the next item, item number 2. This is the Annual Historic Preservation Award for 2024. Can we get a staff report, please?
Sure, thank you, Chair Akins and Commissioners. So each year, the HPC identifies individuals, organizations, or projects that should recognize or be recognized for the Annual Historic Preservation Award that honors those who have made a significant contribution to the historic preservation or restoration of our fair city's unique historical and cultural heritage. The goal is to grant an award or the award or at the City Council meeting in December. So here, the Commission identifies potential recipients, allowing adequate time for this Commission to gather information for both preparation of the biographies, and then at the next HPC meeting in August, well, 2 from now, in August, the Commission will nominate and make a motion to adopt a resolution making a recommendation to the Council. And then the Council will ratify the decision. The Council will need to ratify the recommendation in November and be able to present the award then there in December. Hope I got that right. So the Commission is to identify 1 or more candidates for the award, and there's a table on the next page that provides a guide for this selection. You'll see that on page 2. And then on page, actually attachment A, which would be the 3rd page of this, it's the criteria for making the recommendation. The award can be granted for a broad range of preservation activities, including but not limited to the 7 that are listed here. 1 is preservation of historic resources through conservation and or restoration of a historic building or site. 2, protection of historic or prehistoric archaeological sites. 3, interpretation of historic properties. 4, historical research, including oral history supporting historic preservation. 5, design and planning efforts to preserve historic properties. 6, grassroots organizational efforts in historic preservation. 7, construction of new buildings in historic districts that contribute to the character and design of their surroundings. So the award may be upgraded to a lifetime achievement status in the case of an individual who has made outstanding long-term contributions. And the lifetime achievement award will be granted to 1 in extraordinary and for extraordinary circumstances. So with that, the other thing that I've included in the packet is the history of all the recipients back to 1991. The recipients and what it was that which criteria they fell under.
Excellent.
So if you would like to talk about different people, I can write them down here, or you
Okay.
can hand them to me in writing.
Okay. I have one, Gina, do you have anyone?
You can go first.
Okay. So I have one person that came to mind, and his sister happens to be a lifetime award winner, a good friend and also a board member on our Ojai Valley Museum. So I called Julie Tumamite Stensley, and I said, tell me about your brother Patrick. Patrick is kind of walks in many of the same paths with Julie. I said, can you give me something that I can share at the meeting? And she sent me, he grew up in the Ojai Valley, son of Vincent and Lucy Tumamite. He continues to live in the valley with his partner, Vera. Patrick is multi-skilled. He worked in construction with Casitas Water District. He's good with car mechanics. He is an artist. Mediums include carving, metal work, and painting. Patrick, since the late 80s, has been working as a Native American cultural resource monitor, working solo as well as with archaeologists to discover, define, and protect Native Chumash sacred sites and village sites. Patrick considers this, along with doing educational programs, a way honoring his Chumash heritage. So I love that, what Julie shared with us. I did a search while I was sitting in a council meeting and came up with this great picture of Patrick. I'm like, oh, it looks fabulous there. So I went through, again, at Tuesday night's council meeting, in case you wonder what I'm doing, writing all the time. And I checked the 7 different things that were listed. And preservation of historic resources through conservation or restoration of a historic building or site. Conservation, check. Protection of a historic or prehistoric archaeological site, check. Interpretation of historic properties, check. Historical research, including oral history supporting historic preservation, part of his job, check. Design and planning efforts to preserve historic properties, check. Grassroots organizational efforts in historic preservation. That goes back when a lot of work was done, and Craig will remember this, with the city council, who was looking at improving and strengthening the cultural resources, dialogue, and that are in the Ojai Municipal Code. And so he and his sister were in each of those meetings, or most of those meetings, and a part of working with the group in that committee to make that happen. And so that's why I talk about grassroots organizational efforts in historic preservation, because that's where it came from. The only thing that I didn't check was number 7, construction and new buildings in historic districts that contribute to the character and design of their surroundings, because, you know, we're still working on a historic district. What can I say? So anyway, I would nominate Patrick Tumamite for an annual award.
And under the criteria is 1 through 6?
Yes. Please. Craig?
Okay, well, I have one for the Lifetime Achievement and 2 possibilities for the annual. For the Lifetime Achievement, I know that Tony Thatcher has received the annual award back in 2000 and something when they were holding the 100th anniversary of the tennis tournament, because Tony's granduncle started the tennis tournament, and he's been a part of it for practically his whole life, and he's really been kind of the historian of the tennis tournament. Also, he serves on the Civic Association, which was the organization founded by Edward Libby to receive his gifts, and they still manage and own the post office, and they have a lot of interest in supporting the parks and events that go on in the park, and he's been a contributing member of that for several years. He's also been a museum board member, and I think he was on the collections committee for a while, maybe.
He actually still is.
And he's been very supportive of a lot of the exhibits that I was doing and projects. He's been very making those happen. The Friends gas station, which is now Ojai Road T, which his wife's family, the Friends, Elmer Friend, built that with Austin Pierpont as the architect. But Tony kind of spearheaded the whole project of getting it cleaned up and prepared to keep its historic value and for the people of Ojai, and have it still be an asset historically, which it is. It's a wonderful building that now serves as the Ojai Road T. And he's also kind of the go-to spokesperson when anybody wants to talk about the history of agriculture in Ojai. They always see Tony Thatcher being quoted about the citrus, and of course his granduncle, a different granduncle, was really one of the beginners of the agriculture, not agriculture, but the citrus agriculture, Edward Thatcher out in the East End. So that's somebody I would like to have considered for a lifetime achievement, for having done so much over his lifetime. For the annual award, I thought of one, Connie Biggers, who every year, maybe twice a year, on Memorial Day and Labor Day, leads a volunteer group to go in and clean up the cemetery, which is a landmark. So at least once and maybe twice a year, it gets a good cleaning and TLC from this group that she leads to help keep the memory of the veterans and the people of Ojai that passed on, to keep their memory alive. So I thought she's somebody that gives a lot of herself for that historic landmark that we have. And then the other one was somebody I mentioned last year, but we had a lot of nominees. So I would like to again have considered Janice Cash for all of her posts on social media about Ojai history. She really generates a lot of enthusiasm, I think, online for Ojai history. I don't know where she finds her photographs that she posts, and a lot of the things that she writes herself, these histories of not only Ojai but Ventura County, but she lives in Ojai, so she spends a lot of her time researching and writing about Ojai history. So those were the three I thought of.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Walker,
We all appreciate all the history. Would you be able to give the criteria number for each of these three?
Well, Tony is several.
Yeah.
He practically hits all of these. I would say number 1, 2, 3, 4. He did a wonderful booklet on the history of the tennis tournament. I'd say those.
Thank you.
And then for Connie Biggers, number 6, grassroots organizational efforts in historic preservation. 2, protection of historic sites. And number 1, preservation of historic resources through conservation. And then for Janice, I think she would be number 3, number 4.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just to add a couple things to what Craig said on the nominations that I certainly agree with. Tony Thatcher was also president for several years. There is a project that has been going on for a number of years working with Mr. Johnson, who came to us from the Ventura County Museum, that they have been working, and Tony has been funding that. And so when that information does come out, it'll be very beneficial to understanding the ins and outs and the widespread influence of a family that was here early in the start. Connie Biggers also does a great job cooking hot dogs, because at one of the Friends of the Oakview Park and Resource Center, Connie and I are the hot dog brigade. So Joyce and I just recently interviewed her for an oral history interview, and so we're able to get information on her husband and on that family, and the other areas of Miners Oaks that were affected by that family. So I think that's great. And Janice Cash, who I knew little about when you made that nomination, I now follow regularly and copy and paste, always give an attribution to Janice Cash and save the information she has. So I think that they're fabulous. Gina. Hi, Gina.
I would just like to remember Cindy Convery's suggestion of the El Roblar and the theater. At the time, I thought it was too soon, and I still do, because I think it should be tied to ribbon cuttings and, projects finished, but that's why I just don't want to have Cindy think that we just dropped it. I do want to keep that in mind and bring it back around next year. Hopefully, we'll have some finished projects to celebrate.
Fingers crossed, huh? Yes. Anything else, Craig, that you wanted to add?
No, just I would like to reiterate this talk that Tony's giving. He married Anne Friend, who I had known as a child, and it was just a wonderful marriage, not only between these two great people, but these two families that have so much history and so much help define what the community of Ojai is, and they've never forgotten their roots, and I think we really owe a lot for them continuing some of those traditions, like the tennis tournament, like I know it's challenging for citrus ranchers these days. They've had to make a big shift from oranges to pixies, and yet they've handled it really well, and hopefully there is a future for agriculture in Ojai.
And I would add
Yes,
that last year, one of the reasons I wasn't really pushing Janice Cash is because I've never seen anything from her, and I had suggested that maybe she could move over to the Ojai history page, with the live history page, something, and that hasn't happened. I still have never seen anything by her, so I'm going to refer to the two of you, and if you feel strongly, I feel fine with that. I've never seen anything come by, anything that I've ever seen, so. Doesn't mean it's not happening, or if it just doesn't pass my world, so.
Yeah, so the Ojai history, which was basically a kind of put forward and supported by the museum, is on hiatus.
Oh.
So that's why you're not seeing anything. But, you can follow her on Facebook, and that
I
information
will look
is.
that up.
The posts are just fabulous information she has, and fun to do. So, but that's why she's not popping up on Ojai history.
But it's just remarkable to see her posts and see just everyday people jumping in and having these conversations about Ojai history, and people who've lived here their whole life and people who are new really joining together to share the stories of Ojai. And
That's something that I would like to share on our page if I
Yeah.
saw it. I just never
Oh, yeah,
have, so
yeah.
I'll make a point of looking for her.
Oh, yeah. If you want to be introduced, I talked to her after our meeting, after our discussion. I will also point out how small the world is, that she lives in the lot where my wife's grandmother's trailer was, because Connie grew up in the house that's immediately north of that. So,
That's Ojai.
yep, that's Ojai. Okay,
So,
great, thank you.
We
Yes.
have not, staff hasn't received any other nominations from the other commissioners. So we have these 4,
Mm-hmm,
and 1 is for lifetime, and 3 are for annual.
mm-hmm.
And can I assume that Commissioner Walker will be providing a brief bio for the 3 that he's recommended, and that Chair Akins will be providing a bio for the 1?
Yes, for
Okay. And
Patrick.
how, is it a good expectation that staff can receive those bios by June 28? That's 2 weeks and a day from today?
It's really easy for me.
June 20th. Do we want to leave it open so that when the 2 others come back, they could have an opportunity to float some names too?
If we could get those bios going, that would be great, and then we could, they could, if they have something, and in fact, they could, what I can do is get in touch with them before the meeting and make sure that if they have something, that they bring it to the next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, yeah,
Want to be able to
easy for
get-
me to,
I want to make sure that staff has time to get a resolution together so that the commission can formally adopt it, so then we can take those resolution to the city council,
So do you want the bios on all 3 of the ones that I mentioned?
please.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks.
Okay, so I will close that item. Before we move on to item number 4, I would like to recognize, or item number 3, sorry. I'd like to recognize our liaison here. Happy to have Councilmember Rule with us again.
Happy to be here, thank you. Always incredibly interesting and informative.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a suggestion too, but.
Okay, do you want to do that now, or would you like to do it later?
Just as, I was just thinking about this when you were mentioning the Thatcher and the Friend marriage. Maybe if you do decide to go.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry,
Well, that's
my bad.
bold. Well, I can bring this back, well. Okay.
No,
Yeah,
please
Um,
continue.
It just occurred to me how charming it would be if indeed, you were to, if you decided to present the Lifetime Award, Achievement Award to Mr. Thatcher, perhaps you could do it to both of them as a couple, which I think would be very cute and very charming. But I don't know that Anne warrants that. But I just, as you were speaking about it, I think that there's a whole other kind of layer to it when you have, a couple who have then worked together for however many years they have to move this forward.
Great suggestion.
Just came to me, and I'm thinking, wouldn't that be interesting? Anyway,
Okay,
you will do as you will do.
well, thank you very much for that suggestion. Yes.
Maybe put you on the spot.
No, not at all. Again, having been there for an oral history interview with both of them, yes, they are very different individuals each with their own personal strengths and emphasis. So, yes, they're a great couple. Okay, thank you.
So Brian, where does the oral histories go?
The oral histories, when they get done, get backed up on a hard drive that I have, and then they get uploaded to the Dropbox account that I set up whenever Dropbox started, and so we have it there. One of the things that we're looking at, I recently saw a interview that Andy Gilman did, and when it was on YouTube, and it had, with the video, it then had the word for word display. It was even organized into segments, so if you wanted to go directly to a segment, you could do that. I was like, okay, fabulous. So I asked Andy, and he seemed to indicate that it's pretty easy and pretty straightforward nowadays. So the goal is to put that on out and make it more public. When we did the interviews, we told people that they could stop at any time in the interview if they wanted, so we weren't saying anything inconvenient. We also told them that the interviews would be available at the museum. One, because we didn't want people to get copies of it and then chop them up, and two, because we wanted to drive people coming to the historical library that we have to make it available to them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Connie Biggers was our latest, and we have a couple other people that are on it. Okay. So item number 3?
Yes, 3 now.
Okay. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this is for an update for the proposed Ojai Civic Center Historic District Ad Hoc Committee's progress report. This is the staff report that I update after every meeting. And I wanted to note that on May 23rd, not December, just at the last meeting, the commission agreed the commission discussed and agreed that Vice Chair McHatton and Commissioner Walker would be updating documents for the proposed Ojai Civic Center Historic District, while Chair Akins would continue to be the main commissioner reaching out to downtown property owners. And there was discussion also that Commissioner Sims would sometimes join Chair Akins, and then also sometimes Commissioner Basasha would join the chair, but then sometimes Commissioner Sims and Basasha may go also on their own. Additionally, Chair Akins requested that staff cite the municipal code for clarification regarding the majority vote for historic districts. And so I've done that in here, but just to condense it, both sections 4-808D4 states that where a district is recommended by the HPC, and section 4809, where the district is not, where a district is nominated, a majority of the property owners within the proposed district need to support the adoption of the district by the city council, adoption by the city council in order for the city council to adopt said district. So in both situations, there has to be a majority. And that is from the code, so that's the information that was requested of staff. And with that, I'll turn it over to the commission for updates stated at this meeting.
Okay.
So I have a question. So in the code, when you have people who we can't get a hold of, does it say in the code that they have to be no's?
Yes.
Where? Where in this?
Oh, where? I don't know. That hasn't been the question.
What
for
was
a
your
while.
question again?
Regarding the majority of property owners for yes, if there are property owners that are just will not reply, they're somewhere else, they live in a different part of the world, they have no interest in replying, we've tried, we've made an effort. Does it say in code definitely that they have to be no's? I don't see it clearly, and I felt like it was an interpretation, because it seems so much more important that the community of people who actually live here would have more of a voice than people we have no interest and we can't get a hold of just because they have an investment here. And so I was just wondering if it was clearly written, because if we went on the yeses and nos, it would be something different than the yeses and the nos and the can't get a hold of them, so we're counting them as nos. I just wanted to know if it was really written clearly in the code.
Excellent question. Mar, do you have information on that?
That's a great question for staff to come back to you at the next meeting with the answer of, just like I came back today with this,
Okay.
because it's going to take really, I don't have the answer off the top of my head, and it's going to take really looking into the code. I want to make sure that the answer is clear.
Well, thank you.
And if we could get more clarity on the initial vote, because there's two votes talked about in the code. One of them is showing that a majority of the residents or the property owners in the historic district support the nomination. And that's the nomination comes to us, that's nominated to us, and then we recommend to the council. And it's when we recommend to the council that that second vote takes place, which is not really a vote, but the property owners can submit a written objection. And if the majority of the written objections are against it, then it can't become. But I've had this question that I don't really feel like I've gotten an answer to, which is if it's not nominated by someone in the community or some community organization, but it's the result of an investigation by the HPC, then it's not really being nominated to us. We're just investigating it and then passing on a recommendation.
That's correct. They're the two different sections in the code. One is a nomination, and one is a
Right.
recommendation by the HPC. And both of them, in these two sections, it's clear that in both these sections, a majority of the property owners within that district have to be a yes in order for the council to adopt it.
Right, and it should be, but the second one, when we recommend it, it says written objections. So if these people who don't live in Ojai don't send in a written objection, then that doesn't count as a no.
So
You count up the written objections, and if the majority of the property owners file a written objection, then it wouldn't become, but if someone doesn't bother to send a written objection back, but then the first vote, which is for a nomination by people in the community, that would indicate that it has to be a vote there has to be a majority vote in favor of it. But what I'm unclear about is why that first vote would apply to the HPC when we're recommending it. The second vote would, the filing the written objections. I think the council might want to revisit that because I think the council should make the decision, not the property owners. But
So
but
the
that's a
code,
different issue.
right, because our code gives the property owners the vote, and then the council's adoption is based on what the community is within that proposed district is voting. And as far as like the written, when I was reading the code, I was thinking about that, writing a written, whether it's pro or against, and then I thought about when the downtown historic district, which is what it was called at the time, went before council last time. People that voted, I'm calling it a vote, but it wasn't called a vote, but didn't support the district. They didn't have to write their own letter. They received
A form. Yeah.
and they were able. So that in turn is written. It's
Right.
just not their own writing of a letter. But as far as if there's no reply,
Yeah,
that's a different story, and that's what you're asking.
yeah. That's,
And
to me,
that's-
it's like, I
But
would like
that's
there to
somebody
be,
silent. So if they're silent, is that an automatic no?
No, it's
Right.
not. On the second vote.
on the first one.
On the first vote, it
Yeah,
is.
But it doesn't say it is, and that's why I want them to clarify
See,
it
that's
for
the
us.
thing, the first vote is for a nomination, because it's in the section on when the district is nominated. And that makes sense, because otherwise, I could just nominate, because you allow anyone to nominate, and it would mean that one resident could nominate their whole neighborhood, and the HPC would have to go through this process. So when they're nominating, then the requirement is that you have to show that there are others that also support your nomination, so that we don't go to all this work just for one person. But then once we've recommended it to the council, then people can object, and they can write an objection if they object, just like they can with being a landmark. They can write an objection, and the council can consider that, but they don't have to accept it. But it says if a majority of the written objections, and the difference between what we're doing with the historic district downtown and what went on with Taramina is Taramina was nominated by the residents. They were the ones that nominated it. They brought it to the HPC and said, we want to nominate ourselves. So they had to do that vote that showed that the nomination was supported. Anyway, I know Brian has a difference of opinion, but I just think it would be important to get the city attorney in here so we could have a conversation about it, because I think it would make a big difference. I mean, of course, we always want to get support from the people that live there, and as much as we can, but really I think it should be up to the council to decide whether it's in the best interests of the community for an area to be, and not just up to the property owners.
Okay,
Yeah, I
can I,
think-
can I jump in here?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is strictly the, I don't know if it has to be something that would be rewritten, is if, okay, we have your yeses and you have your nos, and then you have your, we have not. So if it's not clear, could it be a judgment called by our council or by our city council or by our attorney to say, okay, we're gonna go one step further and maybe send out a certified letter that has to be accepted by these property owners, and in it, it says, if you don't respond within 30 days, then it doesn't count as a yes or a no, it just doesn't count. You're losing your option to choose here, because that's the weird thing to me. It's like, if you can't force these people to respond, then they don't get giving them a vote that leads us in favor, that's a confusing
Right,
part for
so,
me.
but your question right now is, what does the code say?
Right.
And then your follow-through is potentially changing the code. So
If-
right
is it a
now,
change
but
of-
right.
but
well-
is it a change
Well, I
of
don't know.
code?
We don't know yet because we don't know what the code says.
Okay.
So depending on what the code says, is it a change in the code or is it an interpretation, right?
Right.
So first we have to find out what the code says. And then Commissioner Walker's
It's a different question.
comments is different, and that is first vote versus second vote. Ultimately, the council needs to have, the code says that the council needs to have a majority of property owners within the district in order for them to adopt the area as a district. And the council, works for the people. And if the people don't, and that's why the code is supporting the community of which is in that specific district, either wanting it or not wanting it.
But it works for the people of Ojai, not just the property owners in one neighborhood.
Okay,
So I'm going to come back at the next meeting, if not before the end of this meeting, with trying to find out the silent, what is the vote of the silent? Chair, though, I think you were confident, though, and answered the question, which was that a silent vote.
Yeah, I'm about to answer the
silent vote
question.
a silent vote is a no.
yes. So again, having been in this from the very beginning, having been
Right,
at
you-
every single meeting,
Right.
having talked to Matt Summers, who Tuesday when I met with him in the parking lot, he reminded me that he does have a phone number and I can call him anytime. He again affirmed what I've said all along, Craig, and what I've shared all along is the fact that a petition by the HBC of the parcel owners is required based on what we see, that 50% of the parcel owners plus one of the parcel owners that are listed as parcel owners within the historic district have to say yes, have to give their yes to enable us to go before the city council. Now, once that happens, once we get that, go before this, if we don't go before the city council, there's no second vote. But if we go before the city council and the city council then approves the Ojai Civic Center Historic District, at that time then the property owners have to send in, if they're opposed, they have to send in, they have to do an action to say that they're opposed to this property, okay? If they have 50% plus one, and it has to be something done, because they didn't say anything, because they didn't do anything, a vote is not, a vote on which way they go is not ascribed to them. But, so they have to do the 50% plus one to defeat the proposal that was made to the city council. Now, Matt also reminded me that the city council can do whatever the city council wants to. So the city council, through the code, has prescribed the fact that it has to be 50% plus one. They have prescribed that if we can't get a hold of them, that counts as a no vote. Having contacted, I think, all of the parcel owners, sometimes personally, sometimes phone, email, any number of things. I've listened to them, I've heard them, I've talked with them. But again, we have to take that solicitation. That, again, reemphasized by our city attorney, is what we have to do. Again, reemphasized just 2 days ago when I met him in the parking lot at 5:15 before the meeting took place. And that's why I asked Mara to put the sections in there clearly pointing out that is the process.
And it's as clear as mud.
It is clear.
I
But
think
it's
we need
not
to
about-
get him here where we can have a conversation.
think-
Craig, I have told you any number of times what he says.
I know you've
Other
told me.
people, yes, other people can contact Matt and can verify that. Go wait in the parking lot.
Also,
I
I do want to remind the commission that we did have attorney presence.
It wasn't Matt.
Specifically requested and attended in a previous meeting.
Yes, we did, thank you. Now here was the other thing that came up, and I ran this by Mara, and I can talk about this because This is the other thing I asked Matt about. It's something that I hadn't thought of before. So this is the most current version that we've publicized of what the Ojai Civic Center Historic District is. In this document is a blue outlined district. That is the state historic district that has not come before the Civic Council and has not been recognized them. And so what we have done in going out to the parcel owners is I have gone, others have gone to all of the parcel owners that are within that outline. In the one ad hoc committee we were able to have, because we had 6 commissioners, we came up with 3 different thoughts, 3 different outlines for a historic district. One of them was the state historic district. When I went out and talked to individuals and gave them that form, I was talking to them of the downtown historic district, the whole thing in the outline. And this was my question to Matt. I asked this question tomorrow before Matt. If we decided to just do the state historic district as a local historic district, because we wanted that area to have that, we would have to start over and go to those individuals and get their approval again.
Okay.
So,
So,
and if we went to some other boundary,
we'd have to start all over
we
again,
would have
too.
to start over again.
So my question is this not this current council, but the previous city council and us had this idea that it would be fairly simple to reach these people. And so knowing that there has been this effort over this long a time, and we still have a number of people, I think when they said that if you don't get someone to respond to you, it would be a no, thinking that maybe there'd be 1 or 2, because there is a good-sized handful of people that have not responded. I think that would be reasonable to say to this new council is, the interpretation was that if someone didn't respond, then it would be a no, but we are not able to reach these people, and we'd like you to reconsider, maybe send out a certified letter, make it more official that you lose your option to vote on this if you don't respond, and kind of push them to respond, and if they don't, give them a date or something like that. Because I think when the previous council, we all had this idea of everyone's going to talk and be a part of town, city meetings, and we had COVID, and a lot of that didn't happen for many reasons. So I just think that is the only part that it was interpreted by city council and by us that it seemed reasonable at the time to find everybody. It's not as easy. You've been working for a long time on it, and so that's the only part that I would like clarification on, is maybe asking for, since it's not clearly written that if you don't reach people, what happens, that we get a little bit more information on that from
Yeah,
Laura.
yeah, I agree with you completely. Again, what we adopted and the guidance that was given to us was what was in the code, and that code, the 50% plus 1 did not just come, because someone wet their finger.
Right.
Because I researched it when it was sent to us, and it was actually several court cases. Again, having to do, I think, with Wyoming or Montana, having to do with large ranches and people coming in, building, purchasing a small property and putting multiple houses on that property. And as soon as they put 2 houses on that property, even with 1 vote per parcel, or
They suddenly have to
they
wait.
suddenly had more votes than the ranchers did.
Exactly.
And so, but again, what Matt said to me was, and I talked with Matt out in the parking lot, as I often do when I get here early. Matt said to me, it goes to the council. As he said in, I think every meeting, Councilwoman Rule, Matt says to the council, it's what you want. It's what the council wants. And so unless it's blatantly illegal,
So,
What the council wants. Doesn't matter.
yeah, so,
I would suggest, instead of waiting and feeling like you're not getting an answer, maybe you can just call Matt and find out. So you feel like your answer, your question has been answered. You know, it's just, okay. And besides that, it was a short month because we had a special meeting, and so our focus was, well, we had the two people who would do reach out, which was Commissioner Pasasha and Commissioner Sims, were out of town, so there's nothing really new to report besides what we just discussed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, again, I just want to point out that one, I don't know, wild idea that came in the middle of the night when I wasn't able to sleep. And that is, if we adopt something that's different than this that we've done, that we have to, per MAT, go back and start over with them. Because again, what we were putting forth as a community was the entire district.
Yeah, and I mean, not that I want to do that, because I know how much work we've put out, but at the same time, we have learned so much
We
since
have.
then. And I just feel like we might be able to, well, when I had a meeting, a little conversation with my neighbor, Leslie Rule, and just explaining, having the time to explain the downtown historic district in a very thoughtful way, and what we even understand, and what we, and how we want to present it, and how we're all on the same team. Like, we want to really be thoughtful of property owners and how we can help them, and thoughtful of renter, you know, the people who rent in the downtown area, as well as the city and the community. So I feel like it wouldn't hurt to be forced to have to put together new documentation based on all of the information that we've learned. Maybe whether or not we change the map itself, it would be nice to put something out that is a lot more thoughtful, or have an opportunity to have a meeting with the community, have a town talk where we can explain this for all that we know it is to be now. Because I even going back to our presentation that we did, we've learned so much, and so much has changed since then. So
I have, so yes, I agree with you.
Okay.
Completely. Okay, anything, other questions, this item? Okay. We will move on to item number,
Chair,
what?
I apologize. Can we take a 3-minute break?
Yes,
3.
and just as a heads up, more information coming on expanding our commission, so. Yeah, so we'll talk about that, and I even got the name of a,
Lovely. I should, I'm sure you know, I'm not sure who it is. I know I never nominated, that much I do know. Yeah, I've never nominated, so I would suppose that, but there's 4 of us, and there's been 2 nominations, and there's 2 more to go. That would mean at some point I'll be nominating.
okay, item number 4. Staff report, please.
Item number 4, structures of merit. At the May 23rd, 2024 meeting, the last meeting, the commissioners voted 4-1 to forward the current list of proposed structures of merit to the city council, recommending the council adopt the list as formally designated structures of merit. A date has not been set for this request yet. However, staff will keep you up to date as progress, or on the progress. And with that, if you want to
Okay.
take over and talk about
yeah.
ad hoc committee progress?
Yeah, so this came up also in the conversation. One, because I was talking about, I'll just go to it and then we'll come back later under commissioner comments. I happened to mention that we had, to Matt, that we had put in the budget an item to update the surveys. I said this would be helpful for the structures of merit, which I anticipate will come to you soon. And he said, well, actually, yes, I'm aware of that. He said it won't be in June because June's already crazy. And so Matt mentioned that it may possibly come as early as July. So
And does the council only meet once in July?
they do. They meet July 9th and then again August 27th, I was told today. Does that sound correct?
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, because I asked today. So that was an information that I got from Matt. Again, just casually added to him. Okay, structures of merit. Yes, go right ahead.
So I did some updates after conversations we all had to the document. I wanted to bring it back to our full committee, our commission, so I will be bringing it back and sending it to you in time, which is when? To have a new version of, to have it in the packet, the new version of the structures of merit one sheet that I did.
For the next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Just a second, I'll get you a date. So the next meeting is July 11th. Packet goes out there. 2 Thursdays, June 27.
Okay.
So cutoff date, June 27th?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And then
Yes, sir.
I was, Rick and I were thinking that the report that we wrote about the structures of merit and
Uh-huh.
that we gave to the commission,
Mhm.
that it might benefit from some editing to make it more appropriate to go to the council, like that this is something from the commission to the council, which we could do some minor things to and then bring back to the commission at our next meeting for the whole commission to approve it. If it was going before the council at the end of July instead of at the beginning of July, that would make sense.
Yeah, July 9th is their meeting date.
Yeah, so if we have a meeting on the 11th to go over this report that
I
we're
looked at that, yes.
approve, that, then we could come to the 27th, that it could go before the,
That was
Right,
August
so-
27th.
So we don't have,
to the
August.
council.
Yeah, but August
Right.
27th.
so we don't have a council date, as I said, and I don't make the council calendar. So, but certainly bringing it here as soon as you can, so the HPC can vote on
Right,
including
it would be for the next meeting, so,
So that can be here for our next meeting, but
On
I
the
just
11th.
wanted to remind you that I don't have control over when this goes to
but there was
council.
talked about that maybe that it could come back as early as the 9th to the council, but that would be before we had a chance to agree on this document that we wanted to send along with the recommendation, so,
But I think that if we did happen to get lucky and get it on that 9th, if you had to present it how we all already saw it, it was really beautiful. And I just don't see,
no, it's just be some minor changes, but,
Yeah.
but anyway, if they talk about doing it in July, maybe it could be pushed to that end of July meeting so that we would have time to talk over the report that we want to send with it.
There isn't an end of July meeting.
Or-
The next meeting is August 27th.
Is that
after
what you-
July 9th.
August 27th would be the next one after July.
That was told to me today.
Okay,
I know they talked about it Tuesday night.
then that one,
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
we have our meeting.
Yeah, that's all what I was saying is the 27th is in August.
Okay.
so.
what I'm saying is if we get on the 9th, then we're not going to say no, because getting it in front of council as soon as possible is important. So showing it as it is, or however you want to present it as even a private person, not as a commission, however you wanted it to show it to the council, I think that would be better than saying, I see we're going on the agenda for the 9th, but we don't want to. We want to be 2 months later at the end of August. That's hard to say, especially when we want to come with the district right after it. I'd hate to say no to the council if we ever did get lucky.
So in the past, we have approved, we being the board, has approved a document that would only have minor adjustments to it to be able to go forward,
Right,
correct?
we did, yes.
Yes. So I'm thinking, why wouldn't we be able to do that today?
Exactly.
So, because, yeah, we don't want to, if we can get July 9th, we want July 9th, I'm thinking. If we're prepared and we get July 9th, if we're not prepared, then, yeah, we would move it back, but it sounds like we could be prepared for that date.
Well, I just didn't know if we needed the commission to approve what went before the
it's-
councils.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We already,
It's staff is writing a report for council. Staff is going to be representing the Historic Preservation Commission and getting an administrative report written. And the proposed structures of merit are going to be going with that staff report as recommendation from the HPC for the city council to adopt. That's what's going to the council.
But we would have our report could go as part of that staff report, correct?
A report that's about that goes along with the
like with all those color,
with the proposed structures of merit. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
the package with all the color photographs.
Our
and-
packet, like we gave to
Mhm.
the commission, we had a packet that had other information
Yes, one of the
about it.
council members already asked for that when you had your joint meeting. Well, I didn't say, he didn't ask for it, but he was very supportive of you creating that.
Yeah. So we'll work on that so that we can, because I remember like when the pickleball report went before the council, the Parks and Rec had their report that was included as part of it that went to the,
Because Parks and Rec is the staff.
huh?
Parks and Rec was the staff. Like community development is the staff.
Uh-huh.
So that's who writes the report to get to the, anyway.
So,
If you have
So, yeah.
something, if you have
Okay.
something that goes along with the structure, the proposed structures of merit, let's get it going.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the sooner the better for Rick and you, just
Okay.
in case
We'll work
the
on it,
July 9th comes.
along with the biographies.
Google. Okay, thank you.
And if you need any help, Craig.
So, do we need a motion then for that to be able to go in the packet? Mara?
You don't have anything to go in the packet right now to make a motion on. This was just a discussion item.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not holding ourselves back from getting that information into the packet. Excellent, thank you. Okay, and yeah, that answered all of my questions.
Future agenda items? No.
Future agenda items.
So one last thing. So the one sheet that I'm creating, that would be included in the packet if we wanted it to?
Is that a one treat for the structures of merit?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, it's new from the one sheet, I printed that someplace too. It's new, the one sheet that you did at last month's meeting was for which entity?
The structures of
Oh,
merit.
it was, okay, so you would just be updating the one
It's just
that we.
making some corrections and just to language. It's like I go back and forth between saying resource and the structures, so I want to make sure I
Yeah.
get the language right. So
Yeah.
I would like to have that included too, just so.
Craig, do you see any objection to that document being included with the package? The one sheet that Gina did last week or last
Oh,
month for
I
us?
thought that was going out to the property owners.
Right, but it would be, because it would be part of the packet, then the council would know a lot of questions and answers that they might be
Oh,
fielding
sure.
from people and people
Okay.
here that show up and that are property owners.
Send me a copy of it, the final
course.
one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go through more of it.
Yeah, through tomorrow, okay. Sweet,
Okay.
progress. Okay, future agenda items, 7:06. Staff report.
So you'll see number five, your,
Number five.
your tentative future agenda items. So in July 11th, we've got the nominated recipients, and you'll be bringing in your bios, and perhaps there'll be more recipients proposed by the two commissioners that aren't here this evening. And also, we have then, as normal, the Ojai Civic Center Historic District updates and Structures of Merit updates, as discussed this evening. And let's see. And then on August 8th, we've got adopt a resolution that staff will have prepared for those annual awards and the Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's see. And September, you're going to start discussing Ojai Day. October, okay, I don't need to keep going. We at this time, we don't have any public hearing items. So we just have these, your normal events listed through October here.
Okay, Ojai Day. So I'd like to talk about Ojai Day.
Okay, so October 19th, Saturday,
19th.
is Ojai Day.
So I am proposing that, and I have already talked to him. Mara knows this. Mara also knows who I'm talking about. I contacted Richard Sennett, Ventura County ghost hunter. He is now an Ojai relative, was living in Ventura. I've known him for a number of years. He's spoken at the museum. I have been to his recorded, and I've been to his interview that was held at the bookstore that's out there in Miners Oaks, where he talked about the history of the area, and then took us on a walk down to the Acacia Mansion. His wife and his daughter may still be working for the parks here in Ojai. I can't remember. So they each have their own individual gifts, and they came with those gifts when we went to the Acacia Mansion. And I was telling Mara this. I was doing the divining rods, and my fingers were white because I was holding them so hard because they were not going to move. And so I went through the exercise, asked him the question, if it was a yes, they went one way. If it was a no, they went the other way. And they moved. Of course they moved. Of course they moved. Not because I was doing anything, because my fingers were as white as they could be. And so Mara shared some stories, which I'll let her reserve. But Mara has actually, you had interfaced with Richard Sennett when you were with another city.
Yeah, I worked for City of Ventura for 11 years, and I knew Richard, yeah.
Yeah. So he's just
You
a
worked
fabulous
there, too.
individual. I asked Richard if he'd be willing to do kind of a talk in the morning and then a talk in the afternoon, and then we would advertise him. He said, hey, if you need me to talk to the newspaper, you just let me know. So I told him I would get back to him, but I thought that would be just a fun thing. He would talk about the Ojai jail. Probably never get anybody in there again, but no. So I was just proposing that we bring Richard Sennett as our guest and as a speaker, speaking in the morning, speaking in the afternoon, talking about not only the Ojai jail, but other areas of the city. He does do ghost tours, I think 3, maybe 4 ghost tours that are here in the Ojai Valley that are made available through the Parks and Rec Department. I haven't been able to schedule it first, but one yet. But
I know that
look forward to
Craig
it.
and I, when we were at Valley Oak Charter School, our school had hired Mr. Sennett to teach classes there as well as a specialist to our students, and yeah, he always got them going. And he's
But
good.
I just wanted to caution, because, I was the one who hired him to come and speak at our open times and at different events, and he's very good. But we were kindergarten through 12th grade, and we really had to be careful because the middle elementary up really enjoyed his kind of scary, ghosty stories, but the little kids got really frightened. And so I think we need to be careful about talking to him about how he presents it in a way that families who bring their kids are not going to deal with a frightened child.
Yeah, know your audience.
After that, I mean, we laugh, but for those little kids, it really can hit them. So, the Charman story of somebody dragging their knuckles on the ground and chains rattling, it's great for the older kids, but you have to be careful with the younger ones.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Councilwoman Rule, do you know Richard Sennett?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know people who know Richard Sennett, because it's only 1 degree of separation in Ojai for everybody.
Yes, I'm sure. I have no doubt.
He is a wonderful human being and a fabulous storyteller with all kinds of experience. So, yeah. So if it's okay with you two,
Sure.
I will call Richard and I will
I
get a
mean,
commitment from him.
there'll be times when people can just tour the jail if they want to, and there'll be times when there's a ghost talk. So we'd be able to offer both.
Uh-huh, yes.
So I think that's how we make it clear, it might be scary if you come in this time, we hear, but these are the times that you can come and just visit the jail.
Yeah, because it's taken me a long time. I used to take my classes at Nordhoff to the cemetery because it was right nearby, and we'd
Uh-huh.
walk through and talk about the people who were buried there. And, it takes a while to get them to see that it's not a scary place, and because that's the way we've raised our kids to expect that. So I would be in favor of something that promoted the kindly members of our past who are here, they're in spirit, and how it's all good,
Yeah, yeah. I'll
Not
go,
scary, not
I'll go
so.
through all this with Richard
Yeah.
when I talk to him. Yeah, because he mentioned the same thing, what would you like me to talk about and, who my audience
Yeah.
might be. So, yeah, no, I think that's
But it's not all good,
great.
Commissioner Walker.
What?
Nothing, I'm kidding.
Not all the stories are good, There are some scary ones.
And, I do everything I can to scare those little guys, much with the support of their parents when I ask them if they want to know why they call it a slammer. The parents are like, oh, you do. So it's fun. Anyway, that's the Ojai Day thing, and then we can talk about, as we get closer, assignments, so October 19th.
And then I had a request on the future agenda. If you look at the Planning Commission, on
Here
the
it comes,
bottom.
Mara.
So you have the block of dates with all the future agenda, and then there was a space, and then another block where it said pending joint council meeting to be determined.
Oh,
Can we have that on ours, just so it stays in our heads that we also want that too? Because it's how planning has it on there, like a little separate chunk.
Sure, why don't you let me, at the end of the meeting, you can pass me, you can hand off your paper, or I can just look at what the planning commission has, and I can't make any promises, but I'll look into it for sure.
Yeah, I just like to, make sure that we're keeping it fresh, that this is something that we're
Sure.
actively pursuing.
Okay, thank you.
they also have on there, and I talked with Mara about this, elections, chair and vice chair elections. Same type thing, kind of a floating date. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so end of item number 4, we're talking about any other future agenda items?
No, and so that's agenda item 5, and
Yes.
so 6 would be my turn,
Yes,
before commissioner's turn.
go for it, Mac.
Ready?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
So I was reading the minutes. It looked like, I thought we had to get the consensus of the commission to ask that it was okay that I was the education liaison. But it looked like we voted it. Do we need to bring it back, or am I that person now?
You are the education liaison for the HBC.
Okay, thank you very much.
You can make your own hat,
I will make mine. Okay, thank you.
okay?
It'll be on our mask next week, or
Yes,
next
Just,
meeting.
yeah, write it on there. Okay, you ready for planning?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to bring to attention today is the 24-25 budget for the HPC has been adjusted based on what has been seen in recent meetings. The current amount is after speaking with finance, or first the director and then finance, the current amount is $20,000, and that combines all different line items.
Thank you.
Some of those are legal ads, training, consulting, et cetera. And so that's what I have.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilwoman Leslie. I know that you spoke about the budget too during council, so thank you for that as well.
Yes.
So that's it for me.
And I spoke about it when I had my HPC hat on to fill in a couple blanks that we had. So again, Councilwoman Roll, thank you for your support there. Appreciated you bringing it up, going through the details, and very much. Okay, that's all you got?
That's all I have.
Okay, so commissioner comments. Let me go through what I have. And I confirmed that with Councilmember Rule that last Tuesday night was the second reading of the new code that in talking about commissioner recommendations that are taking place. And so what's in the agenda, if you look at Tuesday nights, is pretty much how it's going to go forward. There was some discussion. There was a vote, but second reading. What happens now? I talked to, and where we are. So currently we have one individual, we saw her last week, at the last meeting, who is interested in being a candidate for the Historic Preservation Commission. And that process essentially is that it goes to the council. I think the new council is that the interviews take place together jointly, and that the council then makes the committee then makes a unanimous recommendation to the council on who they are supporting going forward.
Is the commission involved at all, like the chair or someone?
The chair. So the people on the committee are a rotating council person, the mayor, and the chair. Okay. There is your involvement will be when they're talking about whether to renew me, to bring me back, because then I can't interview myself. So in that case, the vice chair steps in.
And if you ever decide to take a vacation?
If I ever decided, hey, I spent 3 cold but wonderful days with my family, Friday through Monday, at a primo spot that I'd never camped at over at Lake Casitas. The only downside was that 3 o'clock sun never came out while we were waiting for it over at the Lazy River. Yesterday, I also got a phone call from another individual who we know, but I'll wait for it to come through the channel. When somebody applies, the thing I tell them is to contact our deputy secretary, to contact Weston and to fill out an application. So this person had downloaded one and talking to me was going to pursue that. So we now have 2 people that are in the pipeline for moving forward on that. What we're waiting for, so the question came up on what is the pathway going forward, and I was told to contact Weston. Weston's driving the boat right now, and so I was going to give him a couple days to recover from Tuesday. It's a long meeting, and then talk to him. Because again, I was instructed in getting that information to contact Weston directly. So, anything else, Commissioner reports? Councilwoman Rule.
Thank you.
Please come to the mic, and again, thank you for your support.
You bet. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the meeting. Always really interesting. So, yes, you are correct in your understanding of how the commissions will move forward. You can check in with our deputy chief city clerk. That's a deputy
Yes.
chief city clerk, to find out, if who's revolving and who's going to handle that process. So we don't yet know, who will be liaisoning with potential applicants and setting up things like that. So the details have to be kind of worked out and articulated, but we're hoping to do that. Yes, on our July 9th meeting, we do not have, that is the only one in July, and I will just give you an update that our special session on goals and priorities that was supposed to be July 2nd has been moved to July 9th. So I'm guessing that that's going to be quite a marathon of a meeting. So it will be what it will be. I don't make the agenda, so we'll see how it shows up. I'm thrilled that Commissioner McCadden is your educational outreach. We had a very long conversation, and she explained a lot to me in ways that I did not understand before, even though I have been privy to this more so than many residents and or owners or tenants of the historic preservation, potential historic preservation civic center historic district. So I understood it much better, and I just wanted to say that it was a great conversation, and it was explained to me very clearly. And I think what's really important is that I walked away from my conversation thinking it's hard to get folks in the historic preservation district or that district to see the real benefit or to feel that they should give up their agency. They feel like they're giving up their agency and are not really clear what would be the advantage of giving up their agency, because giving up agency around your property is a huge deal. So it was explained to me very well, and I think so. I think that having a town hall or a forum or however you would want to talk about it, and really attempting to get everyone there, in some way or another would be highly beneficial. The outreach, and I think that that's how you actually do change the narrative around I'm going to lose something to, I really need to know what I might gain. And that's the switch that I think you were mentioning, that you did convey to me quite clearly, and I was very appreciative of that.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you. I mean, had I known that you were going to end up in that sort of a marathon on the same day that we had our long conversation, you must have been so exhausted. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
We probably could have planned that on a better day, but
Yeah,
thank you.
but I wanted to talk to you also before the meeting, because I wasn't sure what we were going to be talking about. So if there was anything that I needed, for instance, the budget, to bring up, I wanted to make sure that I was cognizant and informed about it. I think also, and I won't speak to any particular candidate, but candidates who have gone through this via the Mill Act or something are wonderful to have on the commission, because they can speak from experience, obviously. They can actually talk about what the Mill Act is and what they were able to do because of it. And I think that kind of authentic understanding is really, really important. So those are kind of my items, except for one, which is on my computer, so I have to grab it.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
So I will let it out of the bag that both candidates have Mills Act participation.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Yeah. So I wanted to discuss Assembly Bill 2580 because I love laws. I find them fascinating, housing laws, and this is a housing law. And
Assembly Bill
it's AB 2580. So here is the synopsis of it, and I think it's that you should be aware of it. AB 2580 would provide transparency by requiring local governments to report historic designations to HCD, which is the agency that oversees our housing element and most of affordable housing, to HCD as an element of their APR, including an assessment of how those designations affect the ability of the city to meet its housing needs. It would further enhance accountability by adding an assessment of historic preservation policies and practices as potential constraints on housing to HCD's review of local housing elements. And essentially what that means is, and this passed the Assembly unanimously, I think it was 74-0, which means that from here on out, if it passes the Senate, the city is going to be required to pass on information around historic districts and preservation districts, landmarks, and to confirm that the intent is not to lock out affordable housing. So there are, so that will, and I think that will probably pass. So there will be that sort of accountability now, because people, affordable housing proponents were very concerned that people were rushing to put things into landmark status or historic preservation status to protect from any affordable housing going in there, because that would trigger and stop it. So that loophole that some cities and counties have used will be closed, would be my guess. And so I think it's wise for sort of everyone to be aware of that. And since it passed the Assembly unanimously, I think it will probably be coming forward for, regulation or something. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Check it out. More HCD, going to be living our lives. But, people do, and I know for a fact that land use attorneys do suggest historic preservation to stop developments. It is something that's real. So this isn't a scare tactic. It is done. It is done. It has been done. And I know that from personal experience. So
I do think it's important to say that adaptive reuse of taking these buildings and not just having them sit there and as museum pieces. I mean, they need to be used for what the community needs. And, we need low-income housing, and we need teacher housing. We need all of these things. That is the best case scenario for preservation, is taking these buildings and bringing them, keeping the look and feel of a town while still utilizing these buildings for something that the community needs, and not just ignoring that.
yeah, I think if you had a preservation district or, some sort of area, and you were going to put in affordable housing of some sort, workforce housing, adaptive reuse, I mean, immediately, of course, what comes to mind is, the school
district.
property, right? I don't think that's a designated historic landmark, but it might be. I'm not sure. But the idea would be if a city or somebody were to try to stop housing by saying it is this, right? That would be problematic. To say, no, it is this, and we're going to use adaptive reuse, and it's, we're not using it to stop the building.
It is a landmark, and that's exactly what we've told the superintendent. We offered our time. We have a wealth of knowledge. We have people who we can contact to help them find developers that will work within those constraints. But that's the whole idea, is finding the right developer to keep that the outside of the building looking like it fits in with the rest of the downtown Ojai, but while using it for something that the community needs. And it's not to, it would definitely not be to stop it. It would be to help it and to make sure that there's all the funds that are out there. There's all sorts of federal money that you can use. There's state money, all within to have it be more cost effective too.
Yeah, I think that would be an incredible case study to do. If, case studies are a lot of work, but even for the town of Ojai to have that in their back pocket next time HCD says something. Because that is the value of this commission, and that is the deep knowledge that you have and the support and help that you can give. And I think that's the sort of political and perception of, that can be changed using that, right? That would be a perfect example for a town hall or a forum. This is what we can do. We're not this. We're this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would go a long way.
Because-
And so anyway, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah, I
please.
just feel that historic preservation and low-income housing is not incompatible. I've talked to people at the school district, like Gina mentions, about, well, why do you have to build your affordable housing on the back of the lot or on a separate part? Why don't you take the historic buildings and repurpose them as housing for your workforce? And they may have their eye on those for something else, for commercial, but I really support that idea of repurposing these buildings and using them to help house.
Right, for community good. I mean, there is no
Right.
more community good than building housing for municipal and or your educational, your staff, right? There's no better use for that. Whoever is providing great community services.
Great examples all over the country of adaptive reuse with school buildings. It's there's so many beautiful historic schools that have been changed into everything from low-income housing to hotels to just so many different things. It's the future. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
agreed.
what it is.
And I personally think that the Becker Group did a good job on the 510 East Ojai Avenue, because they did preserve the historic building, and they built their low-income units off to the back and where they were kind of out of the way. So they had the best of both worlds. They were able to provide this housing while satisfying the community's desire to keep the historic building.
Yeah. Yeah, and schools are kind of low-hanging fruit for, landmarks and stuff, but I think it's a great case study. All over the country, you see these schools that have been repurposed into, condominiums, but not necessarily workforce housing. Just they've been just repurposed. So anyway, I wanted to make you aware of that. And
Thank you very
So-
much.
So on the school district, again, they have been clear all through with the new group that's there that the historic part, the portion that's there on Ojai Avenue in the front, this administration part is, not at the moment not to be touched. Occasionally they've talked, maybe at a later date we will reuse it, repurpose it with without taking things to it. And then also the open area in the back where they had the farmer's market, they said we want to keep Ojai.
Yeah.
And then they have gone to the housing that's off to the east. July 11th is still their fish or cut bait date on
Okay.
where they will take all the information they have and make a no-go decision. But
okay, so, and I know you go to all the school board meetings, most of them.
I skipped the last one because
Okay.
it didn't really talk about it.
Yeah. But anyway, so once again, it was my great pleasure to have been your liaison. I'm not sure exactly what commission I'm moving to. I think I'm on to Parks and Rec that doesn't exist, but we're going to do it. Anyway, it was my great pleasure. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your service. And it's not perfunctory when I say that. It is absolutely, I understand the level of your commitment, your knowledge, and your desire to help this community be the community that it is. And so much appreciated from a council member, but also as a resident of Ojai. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Okay, anything else? Oh, no? Where's David Mason? There we go. Done.